Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CR Exposed. On today's episode, I'm finally feeling better. It's been about 2 weeks of constant mutations of this cold I got from someone at my job, and I'm pretty much over it. And 2, I don't know if there is a 2. We're just going to jump right into looking at the Mage here. That was a request from the YouTube subscribers, the people that have joined my memberships here on YouTube, and also Patreon as well. So thanks to them for picking the Mage for this week, and let's get right into it. All right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and start inputting our monsters' information from the top down, starting with the armor class of 15. And then we're going to go ahead and leave this as medium because that will help with the D8 hit dice on our Mage here. They have 18 hit dice for a total of 81. Now, obviously, without any pluses here, this shows that our Mage doesn't have any Constitution modifiers. So that is exactly their hit points. Then we are looking for a CR6 monster, and we'll move into the stats. So we have a 9 strength, a 14 dex, 11 con, 17 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 11 charisma. Now that the feature section is all taken care of, because there's nothing to worry about here because we basically have a standard humanoid, we can move right into the action section. And from there we have multi-attack. The Mage makes 3 arcane burst attacks. Now in theory, this is supposed to be our main source of attacking, but the issue is we also have some big spells here. So likely what we're going to do is take the average of our big spells plus our standard attack of the arcane burst and go from there because we don't know what we're going to do if and when. So let's go ahead and take a look at the arcane burst, which is getting a melee or ranged attack bonus of +6 to hit. And we're going to put that in. And then from there, we're going to see that this deals 16 force damage coming from a 3d8. And we're going to do 3 dice at the d8 plus our intelligence modifier, giving us 16.5. You may be wondering, what's with the half? Well, every odd number gives you an extra half point of damage, and every 2 even dice gives you +1 more damage because of that half die number. Moving on, we do have a whole bunch of spells here. We have a bunch of basic ones, like Mage Armor, which I expected already because we have that 15 AC. Which is at will. We have a bunch of defensive or role-playing based spells here. We then do have 2 uses each of Fireball, Invisibility, and 1 use each of Cone of Cold and Fly. So Fly may be a good way to have that right off the bat. It's concentration up to 10 minutes, so we can't actually use this as a preemptive thing. We're not going to have this on already at the beginning of combat. Likely, I would say Fly and Invisibility are either going to be really great ways to escape battle, or especially with Fly, this could be a good way to get ranged and then start dealing range damage up in the air. But we're going to primarily look at all of our offensive spells and go from there, and consider Fly and Invisibility as our escape methods. After our action section, we also have bonus action of Misty Step, which is going to be handy because we can do this 3 times a day, and we're only calculating for 3 rounds of combat. And then we also have a reaction of Protective Magic. The Mage casts Counterspell or Shield in response to the spell's triggers using the same spellcasting ability as spellcasting. So let's go back to our attacks here, and right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and throw in our Arcane Burst here for 16.5. We're going to get a multi-attack of this times 3. So the 16 times 3 will give us 49.5 points of damage. After that, we do have our Fireball, which, if I remember correctly, should be about 56 points of damage. So let's go ahead and go to my spell damage lookup table. We'll go to, it's level 3. Yep. And yeah, 56 points of damage. While we're at it, let's go ahead and also look at Cone of Cold, because that is also one spell we can use once. And that should be, that was a level 4. I'm guessing it's a level 5 spell. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we have 56 points of damage for Fireball and 72 points of damage for Cone of Cold. Now this is including the 2 suggested spells or failed saves as well. So for our spells, we'll put 56 up here and 72 up here. Now we can do 2 Fireballs and 1 Cone of Cold, provided that we have a good amount of targets in the range and in the template areas. So we will go ahead and, calculate all of this out at once. Before we get into calculating the damage, let's go ahead and add in our Misty Step here. And the Misty Step is going to be our teleporting. Misty Step can only go 30 feet, so we'll go ahead and add this in. We're going to get 27 effective hit points using this all 3 rounds of combat to keep our distance. After that, we do have shield or counterspell, and shield is always a really, really strong contender here for using it. Since we have 3 uses of it, that's going to give us a +5 AC bonus. Just going to go ahead and use that one as well. As per counterspell, that one's tricky because we don't really know what we're going to be countering, if at all. So let's just use shield. More than likely, being attacked is going to be the bigger contender for this protective magic that the mage has. So what are we doing for damage? Well, the first thing we're going to be doing for damage is going to be casting Fireballs and Cone of Colds. Now, in theory, again, we won't be getting these right off the bat, but just for the fun of it, let's say we have the chance to do this every time. So we're going to go ahead and put 72 in here for the first round of, hitting Cone of Cold, and then 2 Fireballs after that. Oh, actually, I messed up too. We have a level 4 version of Fireball. So let's go back to the spell damage lookup. Let's go to Fireball, switch it to level 4, and we see that we have 63 points of damage. All right, so we're going to change that to 63. And actually, that just balances out the offensive capabilities. Actually, before we move on real quick, because we're using the spell save DC here, let's also change this from a 6 to a 14 to see if that makes any difference. Okay, so we have a slight modification again, and we're back to 7.5. So using all of our big spells, one after the other, plus shield, plus Misty Step, we're looking at roughly CR 7.5. Okay, now that that's over with, let's go back to our 6, and we're going to go ahead and say we're just doing all arcane bursts because we can't line up more than maybe one enemy somehow. With that, we're just going to simply drop the arcane burst multi-attack into our concentration realm and see that we actually have roughly a CR 6.5 for our mage. And let's go back to the idea of we don't know what we're casting if and when. What I want to do then is take the average of all this damage. We can either do the 49.5 points of damage, or the Fireballs, or the Cone of Cold. So what's this going to look like? Well, we'll simply take the average and round it down of 49.5, 63, and 72. So this is going to include every possibility of damage here, of either using the arcane burst or casting an offensive spell here. So we will simply switch this over to 61 and see that we are back to roughly 7.5 for our CR of the monster, which is 1.5 over what we were expecting. Okay, what's going to be the easiest way to fix this? Right off the bat, dropping the reactions, because maybe we are in a spot where we don't get attacked all the time, or we don't have any spells that we can counterspell. Maybe we're not close enough to counterspell something. So let's go ahead and remove the shield from this equation. And by removing the shield equation, we get ourselves down to a CR7. Okay, now the last thing we can do that will be nice and quick is saying maybe we don't need the Misty Step. We will get rid of the teleporting, and we'll see that now we are at a CR6. So in order to get our mage down from the 7.5 that we found, we need to not use the bonus actions or the reactions. The only other small thing I might do is say, like, oh, maybe Misty Step every other round and not do it every single time. So in any event, I will suggest that this mage, by not using the bonus or reactions, you've basically got a CR6. But again, as always, your dice may vary at the table, and this mage could be a flop, it could be a deadly death god, who knows? Maybe you have a full TPK because of adding this mage in. And anyways, obviously because of our numbers here and what we're looking at, this is definitely a striker. Obviously, we would want that to be taken into consideration. And, a distance ranged attacker or striker. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.